How far will you go for your dog? I never imagined that question would define my entire life, but here we are. My pit bull mix, Daisy, came into my life during my darkest hour. I was 26, recently divorced, and living alone in a small apartment that felt more like a prison than a home. The shelter warned me that Daisy had severe anxiety and trust issues after being used as a bait dog in a fighting ring. Her face was scarred, one ear partially missing, and her spirit seemingly broken. The first week, she wouldn't eat unless I left the room. She flinched at every sudden movement and spent most days hiding under my bed. But there was something in her eyes, a tiny flicker of hope that somehow hadn't been extinguished. I started sleeping on the floor beside her, just talking softly about nothing and everything. After 3 weeks, she finally took a treat from my hand. After 2 months, she wagged her tail for the first time. That moment changed everything. Over the next year, Daisy transformed. She became playful, affectionate, and incredibly gentle with everyone she met. She was my reason to get up in the morning, my constant companion. Then we moved to Ridgewood for my new job. Our neighbor, Mrs. Caldwell, was the neighborhood association president and made it immediately clear that she didn't approve of Daisy. "Those dogs are killers," she'd say loudly whenever we walked past, just waiting to snap. I tried explaining Daisy's story, how she was a victim, not a villain, but Mrs. Caldwell wouldn't listen. The harassment escalated quickly. Anonymous complaints about barking. Daisy rarely barked. Citations for leash violations that never happened. Then one evening, I came home to find Daisy lethargic and vomiting. The emergency vet found traces of rat poison in her system. She survived, but barely. The police said they couldn't prove who did it. When I confronted Mrs. Caldwell, she simply smiled and said, "Dangerous animals don't belong here. Next time, you might not make it home in time." I installed security cameras the next day. A week later, Mrs. Caldwell proposed a public safety ordinance banning certain dog breeds from the neighborhood. The meeting was packed with her friends, all nodding along as she showed manipulated photos of Daisy looking aggressive. I brought testimonials from trainers, neighbors who loved Daisy, even my therapist who certified her as an emotional support animal. It didn't matter. The vote passed 7-2. We had 30 days before Daisy would be taken and evaluated, which everyone knew meant euthanized. I contacted 43 landlords in surrounding areas. None would accept a pit bull. My parents couldn't take her because of their building's insurance restrictions. With 5 days left, I watched from my window as Mrs. Caldwell smirked while talking to animal control officers outside my house. "Should have chosen a proper pet," she called out when she spotted me. That night, I made the hardest decision of my life. I quit my job, the one I'd moved for, the one that finally used my degree. I broke my lease, loaded everything important into my car, and drove 18 hours to my uncle's farm in Tennessee. He had 5 acres of fenced land and no homeowners association. I found work at a local hardware store making half my previous salary. I moved into a tiny cabin with no dishwasher, unreliable heat, and spotty internet. 6 months later, I received a certified letter. The breed ban had been overturned after a lawsuit from a national organization. My old boss called, offering my position back with a raise. My apartment was still available. I could return to my career, my friends, my life. But yesterday, I watched Daisy racing through the open fields. Her scars still visible, but her eyes now bright and fearless. She chased butterflies and rolled in the grass without constantly looking over her shoulder. For the first time since I'd known her, she seemed completely free. We're not going anywhere. Some people might not understand giving up everything for a dog, but Daisy gave up on nothing when the world gave up on her. How could I do any less?